Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falakdev Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Ms. Ganthimathi Sridhar. Hello, welcome, Ms. Sridhar. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you, Khan, and I'm glad to be part of this interactive session being organized by World Development Corporation. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
And, I'm much delighted to take part in this session.
So let me give you a quick brief about Ms. Ganthimathi Sridhar. She stands as a seasoned professional with 3 decades of rich experience spanning accounts, audit, stress asset management, and wholesale banking with a committed service to ICICI Bank Limited. Since joining the Wholesale Banking Group in 2005, she has demonstrated unwavering commitment and possessing a multifaceted skill set. Her expertise includes credit appraisals, risk analysis, legal documentation, project implementation monitoring, asset or liability restructuring, structured financing, loan syndication, stress portfolio management, and NPA recoveries. This wealth of experience has been honed through diverse roles, including the Special Assets Management Group and Corporate Accounts and Finance Group, reflecting a journey marked by continuous growth and adaptability. So Ms. Sridhar, you have been entrusted with various roles such as credit appraisals, risk analysis, legal documentation, and stress portfolio management throughout your professional life. Could you elaborate on how your multifaceted...
Thank you, and I'm delighted, once again, my honor to be part of this interactive session being organized by World Development Corporation, and thank you so much for that once again. So if I have to answer your question, I have to take you back to the wheels of time, because we looking back at the economy, say way back in 1990s, when we started our career in financial sector, our economy was going through transformation. Okay, the transformation, if I have to say it clearly, the economy was transforming from nationalization to privatization, or more so you can call it as liberalization. So having said that, there were a lot of changes or the reform that has been taking place in the various sectors of businesses. Therefore, in every sector, be it a core sector or other tertiary sector, there has been a dire need of skilled, professionals with appropriate, capabilities. And if I have to put it very clearly, more so in the financial sector, because this sector being the reflector of all the varied transactions that happens across the economy. So having said this context, this is the background which with we started a career. If I have to look at the skill sets, while I have worked across various spheres of activities, which includes accounts, audit, stress asset management, portfolio of corporate banking or the wholesale banking. When you look at the specific, skill sets that one may have to imbibe on themselves in order to be successful in these, varied set of, activities, I can, going by my experience, I can clearly say that, there are no standard sets of, instructions or code of conduct or book of instruction, which will help people to clearly follow, in order to be successful. But keeping aside, the law of the land. So the law of the land is one on which one have to be abide. Barring that, in every department, you have your own way of functioning, keeping the broad contours within which you need to operate. So, with this background, each department is unique in its way of functioning because the objectives are different between various departments and various functions. So if you have to put it clearly, you can just break down into two parts. One is the general capabilities or the skill sets that one may have to carry, and the other one is specific skill sets or the product knowledge which is required in every department. So we will just go by, we'll start with the general skill sets which one may have to have or acquire or practice or get it from by listening to what the peers or the seniors say. So if I have to look at the general skill set, this is the first and the first and the foremost skill set which comes to my mind is about being resilient. Okay, resilient since see I set the background, the context with which we started our career. So that there has been a change in every activity of the economy. So change has been a continuing constant in the economy, and therefore I'm sure you would agree also that in every spheres of activity there has been a requirement to cater to the needs of the changing times. And therefore more so when you deal with diverse stakeholders, because you not only deal with customers, you deal with various other stakeholders like the suppliers or the intermediaries or your own set of employees or your colleagues. There are various set of stakeholders, so each stakeholder's requirements or expectations are different, but the objective of the organization is common to everyone. Okay, so therefore keeping the objective in mind and also to meet the expectations of various stakeholders, one has to be resilient in the respective functions which will enable them to meet the expectation or meet the objectives of the organization. This is the first and the foremost skills which I thought I should highlight to the listeners, which help me to be successful and stay constant in the financial sector. So this is my first group. So if I have to say about second one or equally important, as good as the first one, the second and the most important one is one has to be diligent. Okay, diligent. What I mean to say is, see, every sector you will be going by the facts what has been provided to you, but then you know being diligent will help you to understand what you're seeing is the factual one or whether it is the appropriate one to look at and take decisions appropriately. So in order to be more diligent, one has to have access to appropriate informations. Okay, informations is the key for successful planning, successful execution, successful achievement of the objective. So in order to have the access to information, you need to gather information right from every stakeholders, or you have to have your ears close to the ground. Okay, listening or gathering information from hearsay will not help. You may have to access the right people, the right stakeholders, and get the appropriate information. So that will help you to appropriately decide the weigh the various course of action and take the most appropriate action, which will help you to achieve the objective. So in order to be only when you are diligent, okay, you will know whom you're talking to and whom your customers are, whom the stakeholders are. Without understanding the stakeholders or the counterparties in a background, what you are heading to, you will not be too sure. So once when you do the right diligence, know your counterparties appropriately, I can assure you, or I can say maximum percentile of your objectivity has already been achieved. Okay, once when you do this counterparty verification appropriate and have the background and other information in a more appropriate manner, then that would result in meeting the objectives, be it every function, whether it is audit or it is a stress asset or whether it is business development, that would help you to achieve the and meet and even exceed the objectives. So these are the general skill sets which I thought, in my opinion, you can talk about many skill sets, okay, in general, which individual or professional should possess. But largely, between various skill set, various skill sets, I can say this resilience and being diligent will help you to understand the objective of your functioning in the organization. So this is my view with respect to the general skill sets. So I'm sure every professional who have put in similar years of experience would subscribe to my view. So now when we go to the specific skill sets, these are general skill sets which I talked about. When I speak to coming to the specific skill sets, which are functions you are currently deployed with, you should know the product knowledge. Okay, it can be service or it could be product, but then you should have a proper product knowledge in order to do an effective delivery of this, of the objective. So, whichever domain you are functioning, you have to understand the objective of each of these functions, and that would help you to meet the objective. When I say about debt, not only the current status of the product, the features or whatever, the applicability of the rules and procedures, you should also know about what are the developments that is going to happen in the particular industry or in the particular segment. So that will help you to, meet the objective, or because, any objective will not be short term. It will, go for some time, maybe 1 year or 2 years. So whenever there is a change in the law or when there is a change in the norms, regulatory, there could be some changes. So you have to appropriately alter the plan of action in order to have a, variable other course of action in order to meet the underlying objective. In case if the change, which is happening in the environment does not permit you to meet the objective, then perhaps you have to go back to the management and say, these are the subsequent developments which has happened, and therefore, we may have to change our objective to a different expectation of the organization. So therefore, the product knowledge and of the domain, that would help the individual to meet the desired results in any function.
Mhm. Yes, that's really very interesting what you just described. So moving ahead, how do you approach the task of de-stressing a portfolio, and can you provide an example of a successful case?
Yeah, I can say that. See, the objective, as I said earlier, the objectives of the organization of the particular department has to be felt, appropriately understood. When you say stress asset management, stress asset is something which any organization does not want to continue to carry the baggage with, and therefore it is more so to do with pruning down the portfolio. Okay, pruning down the portfolio. So there are various courses of action which one can look at, how to prune down a portfolio, because once it is given. Okay, how to get back the portfolio value. Okay, you're trying to maximize the value of the return from the portfolio which has already been put into stress. Okay, so what happens is there are various, one is, you can either directly negotiate with the counterparty and get the value in, or you may also try to see if any other businesses, houses who are interested in continuing such type of industry, and the present counterpart is not willing to continue to carry the businesses, then you can try to move the businesses to different business party. Or in case there is a temporary mismatches because of the industry, a slowdown, you may also try to give an extension of a timeline by when the value could be realized by the system. Okay, so these are various methods. Okay, in all these cases, these whatever suggestion which I have mentioned now, are all possible only if there is a cooperation from the existing counterparty. Okay, without cooperation, you will not be able to succeed or meet the desired objective in a stress asset portfolio. In case if there are recalcitrant, sub-parties, counterparties, what happens is you need to approach a judiciary for recovery or other proceedings. So in which case you may have to understand clearly what are all the, rights that you may be able to, exercise under the portfolio, and what all methods you can approach through with judiciary, whether it is a lower court or through a show cause notice. Depending on all these modes of recovery, you will be in a position to de-stress a portfolio. Okay, we have applied many such methodologies, and as I said, there will be two sets: one a cooperative counterparty and non-cooperative counterparty. Depending on what category of your counterparty, you have to administer the appropriate action. So to say, I had an experience, with one of a cooperative counterparty, but there was some stress in the cash flow, and therefore they were trying to get the payment done through arranging alternative source of funds. Okay, so that was when I say alternate source of funds, you are bringing down the portfolio. Okay, so you have a choice either to run the portfolio or to get the money immediately. Okay, either whichever way you can. So when you are given such choices, okay, you as a diligent professional, what you may have to do is you have to understand the industry in which is operating, whether the industry, the issues are temporary or whether it is going to be permanent, or it is going to be there will be some more expansion, whatever. All these information have to be analyzed and appropriately take a right action. While we analyzed the industry, we thought that it's more like a cyclical industry, and therefore there could be some there are some regulatory implications as well, and therefore we thought that it's better to get the money and see the value rather than waiting for some more time for incremental returns. Okay, so we thought it is fine to get the money immediately, and this happened some years ago, and we got the money. The party which refinanced it had to struggle and get the money back, and that was a difficult problem. So therefore, you have to, as I said, you have to, when you go back to the wheels of time, you should also run the wheels of time, ahead, and then see which could be the best course of action, and meet appropriately the right decision. So this has helped us. So this is one example I can give. And also, I can give you another small example where there was an exporter who was willing to, any exports will be in non-Indian rupee currencies, and therefore he was willing to have a exchange rate fixed for the exports for the next 2 years. Okay, these are called hedging. Okay, forward contracts, what to hedge. Okay, so that exporter hedged, say, some X amount, depending on the value of exports, what he would be doing on a monthly basis. He did an export hedging, which means, say, selling dollars to you at a fixed price based on the forwards that were prevailing in the market. So we have suggested a forward, and therefore, based on that, there was a contract entered with the fund. So what happened is, there was the product, the underlying product which he was selling. There was a ban on export from here in our country. So therefore, the contract is open. The underlying contract is open with us, whereas the primary product could not be, sold immediately. So there was a change in law. So that's why you have to appropriately look at what is the course of action, whether the party will be able to meet the changes in the exchange fluctuations, and how is it going to meet that exchange fluctuation risk. Therefore, what has happened in this case, rupee was, as if we are a net importer. Therefore, what happened? The rupee was depreciating, and therefore, there was, and the dollar was appreciating. So when he had a hedge, say at X rupee, the price at which it was going was, X plus 0.501. And therefore, there is a loss of the exchange value. So considering the future unrealized contract and the current exchange rate, we suggested that he should, wind down the exposure by paying an appropriate premium for, for the contract. And therefore, that has resulted in, bringing down the loss which the counterparty would, suffer over a period of time had he run the contract in the maturity of the underlying contract. And therefore, what I'm trying to say is you should be an appropriate guide and advisory, so as to say that any transaction is mutually beneficial and there are no loss. There will be a loss that has to be, in such change scenario. But however, that loss could be minimized, and the party was able to, appreciate the fact that we have suggested or advocated at an appropriate time. So there are many such examples which which one had input, because there are changes in law. Earlier there used to be courts. Now we have NCLT, which is National Company Law Tribunal, and there are many processes which have undergone a change. All these things will augur well for the system to have a speedy, resolution of issues. And these are some of the experience which I thought I can share. Thank you so much.
That's really very great, I must say. So moving ahead, like apart from your continued professional development, what values and principles do you base your professional success on?
See, what am I to say? Like, as I said, the key success, which I have mentioned in your first question, is about developing a general skill sets. Okay, the general skill sets are profound on many, but then the basics skill set which I talked about, that would enable an individual to approach any particular situation. And then moving to the product or the domain, because no one can function in any department or any organization or any sector. You may be moving to various roles, and the basics will always remain the same. Whether you do a transaction, there will be two parties or more than two parties, and there will be a value for the transaction. So all these basics will remain the same. Only thing we have to understand, what is the base knowledge or the product knowledge which one have to acquire in order to be successful in each of those departments. So if I have to clearly say, every department, so no two businesses are unique. Okay, each business is different. So therefore, you have to understand first the objectives, okay, of the particular department, and then chalk out a plan of action. Okay, once when the plan of action is chalked out, you will know the activities that need to be followed or to be progressed in an appropriate time frame, which will enable you to meet the objective. When you put the activity sheet, that it is not only to deal with not only to deal with yourself, it has to be dealt with complained by other stakeholders. For example, you may have to ensure that the documents are in place, or you may have to ensure that if there is opening of an LC, letters of credit, whether the goods are being readied by the supplier. There are so many parties, not only single party. So you should understand all these factors and appropriately have a plan of action, and put a time frame for each of the plan of action, and do a review of this plan of action in a periodical manner. That will help you to achieve the objective of the respective functions in each of these departments. when you do that, you should also know the developments outside that is happening in the industry or in the, on the particular thing. For example, you know, uh, there was a end purpose for which we were supposed to, allow a party to apply for a credit facility. What happened is there was a for domestic procurement. Okay. So what happened is there was the company wanted to avail a foreign currency loan for that through cross borders from external offshore branches. Okay. What happened? The regulator, namely, RBI, has expressed that for domestic purchases, you need to use only domestic rupee and not foreign currency because that will impact mismatch in the inflow of currencies.
Yes.
Therefore, yeah. So what has happened? Then quickly we gave an alternative solution saying that you segregate your purchases between domestic procurement and foreign currency, and appropriately go for rupee procurement for rupee borrowing for rupee procurement. So the company arranged its own funds for foreign currency procurement, considering weighing the various cost of funds and other prospects. And therefore, you have to have understanding of the law of the land and the regulations which is happening. For example, you fix a limit on a particular product. If that product is say banned from effective 1st April, the regulators are saying that this will be banned, and there's no point in continuing with those levels of operation. Therefore, you need to have a close eye on the ground to see what is happening around you, so that you are not faltered at any point of time, which will require tremendous interaction, interaction with the counterparty, interaction with suppliers, interaction with other competition, competitive players, and also with your peers and seniors. And this would help you to evaluate, discuss, understand the various available course of action, and decide the most appropriate one. So, if I have to say, you have to be one has to be a more interactive and more watchful, and and you have to keep on updating to all the stakeholders, so that there should not be any surprise suddenly because stakes are huge. And therefore, you have to be a much interactive person, and that will help you to meet your objective or even exceed the objectives that has been set forth by any individual in any professional environment.
Yes, that's definitely there. So when we talk about corporate governance, how and when did you develop an interest in corporate governance?
Yeah. See, it's a very, it has to, see, governance is something, it is an integral part of any individual, okay? So when you say about corporate governance, it is the sum of all the individuals, who make up the organization, and their actions and, their actions will reflect the corporate governance of any company or any organized companies. Okay, and therefore, there's nothing called corporate to govern themselves. It is the individuals who make up the corporate have to govern the various activities, the various dealings with every party, and that will help the organization to have a collective reflection of the corporate governance, which the outsiders can view from through their lens. Okay, so if I have to say that, um, uh, you have to abide by the rule, law of the land. So that is the first governance which one have to keep in mind. I'm sure every product, whatever you deal with, or every service that you're doing, everything has a compliance requirement. that has to be strictly adhered to without any assumptive, being assumptive. So compliance is one thing, which has to be strictly followed, which will help you to adhere to the corporate governance. So I'm sure in every department or every formal organization, there will be compliances, clear code of compliances, that are applicable to products, services, and other forms of activity, which one has to diligently read, understand, and effectively follow and put it in practice. So when one follow these collective compliances mechanism, that will make up the corporate governance. So one your objective is to do business, but the doing business should be done in a compliant manner, and which is a win-win situation for all stakeholders. So being compliant is the rule number one, to be compliant with corporate governance. So therefore, my view is to understand the various laws of the land and see the internal procedures, regulatory framework, and other guidelines, and put those practices effectively, that would result in an appropriate delivery of corporate governance.
That's very much important as well. So our next question is also on the similar lines. Like, as a corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
As I said, I would integrate myself to the organization, whether I may have a separate identity, but I am part of a corporate, okay? And therefore, the corporate governance has to be a key aspect in every organization, which we have witnessed in our service, and that should be effectively followed by every organized environment. So, every organization, I can put it that way. What happens is, the senior management or the board of the companies should have a broad policy framework for corporate governance, for governance of various departments. And therefore, that has to delegate to the respective senior management of the organization. Once when that is delegated, they will effectively put a framework for corporate governance that is applicable to every functions of the organization, and that which has to be approved by the board. Not only that, those being a member of the senior management of the board, one should ensure that such corporate governance practices and frameworks are appropriately laid down, discussed, laid down, and approved by the board, and that has been effectively followed. One such way of effective follow-up for those practices is to see, you have to give a constant, prompting to every stakeholder, whether it can be your supplier, or it could be your dealers, or it could be a middleman, or it could be your employee, or it could be your other, associates, or the group companies or subsidiaries, whoever it is. You have to have framework for governance laid down for each of these transactions, each of these organizations with whom you're dealing with. Such of those guidelines, have to be effectively, put in a place, or it could be put in the company website. Okay, corporate governance practices. It has to be effectively put in the company website, and it has in every communication wherever there is a requirement for corporate governance. There should be an appropriate, a place where they have to mention that this is the site where we have, where the governance rules, can be viewed, and appropriately, action can be taken by each of those stakeholders. And therefore, when the laws known to all of us, we should also have the governance practices clearly laid down and transparently be displayed in a public domain of the organization. That will help all the stakeholders to, view it and take a collective, informed decision. What happens is, you should also see that as a measure of follow-up, you should also see that the respective stakeholders, or the parties, counterparties, or effectively following it up, and there should be some monitoring mechanism. If there are any, deviations from the set rules or procedures, it should be appropriately taken in an appropriate, compliance committee or audit committee or any such committee being, chaired by the senior management, and appropriate actions has to be taken so as to ensure that no such improper actions are repeated by any of the stakeholders. So that should be a warning for others to ensure that they do follow the corporate governance, which has been well laid down in the company's framework of policies and which is available. And all these, not only this, these framework have to be, periodically monitored, and wherever there is a requirement for modification or alteration or addition or deletion, there should be a periodical review of these policies, and that will help the companies to stay put in meeting the corporate governance standards. And with the today we talk about ESG governance, and there are many, and not only profit is not the only objective. So you have to also safeguard the environment in which you're going to operate, and therefore, with more and more advent of ESG and other governance practices, I'm sure corporate governance is an integral part of every organization that will help them to be a responsible member of the society.
Yes. So when we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Yeah. That's one of the very interesting question, and everyone will be aspiring to understand the latest technology that is taking place across industries. Okay, see, even when we started our career, there was not much of internet connectivity or any such web-based applications. Everything was what to say, it is localized, I can say. Okay? It is a local area network and it is localized, and therefore, then you will be able to make it a web-based, program. And therefore, we have seen the evolving of technologies which enabled us to move, very fast in terms of meeting the requirements of the organization. We have to look at the current pace, okay? See, we have passed through the COVID times. Okay, when we passed the COVID time, it is because of the the digital capabilities which have enhanced in almost all our activities. That has helped us to have a seamless delivery of services. So, digital capability is the key for application of all these technology development in any sphere of activities. So, when you talk about the latest technologies, like I can say artificial intelligence. So looking at the customer behavior based on his spend patterns, you'll be able to offer him the right suite of products which he will be interested in availing from any of the vendors or any of the service providers. So, that is one. So most of the organizations have already started using artificial intelligence, and that has helped them to improve the business or the sales volume. Not only that, going by all the questions and the pattern of all the transactions in most of the service requests, you have the chatbots which is enable any user to have answers appropriately answered for any standard questions. Only in case of exception, it goes to a human for interferences. So technology has always helped to enhance or scale up the level of operation at a minimized or at a cost-effective measure. Okay, so therefore, these are the tools which help any organization to grow up in terms of the volume and value. When you talked about Web3, blockchain, and other features, these are integral part. What happens is, so currently we are in Web2. Okay, Web 1, we have moved from Web 1 to Web 2, and we have, what to say, we have appropriately managed to integrate ourselves with the pace of change which is happening in the technology. But in my opinion, what I've seen Web 3 is, it has a kind of decentralized data structures. That would, require a tremendous amount of enforcement of law for the in doing any such activities through such kind of a decentralized setup. What happens, because the stakes are huge, then there are issues. You should be able to have a way of getting your value back. So you need to have a law in for enforceability. So enforceability is the key for application of any technology or any improved technology. So technology per se is acceptable, but then that a technology should also come with features like safety, because today, when you do transactions through net, what happens is there will be some darkness and resulting in you losing the money. Therefore, ensuring the safety of the transaction or the flow of transaction is very vital, irrespective of whichever technology it is. Therefore, there should be a law which will allow you to have appropriate, enforcement, irrespective of the speed or the cost of the technology. The safety is vital, and therefore, in case of any issues or things going otherwise, you should have a law which will enable you to enforce your value for what your which is under stake. And therefore, the law should be proper, and we should have a proper enactment of the law in order to use these, distributed technologies, distributed patterns. In my view, I think all the stakeholders, so, the regulators, the law of the land, everyone have to work together, irrespective of the industry user or law, to work for, to get a low cost and a speedier and safety, net, which will enable them to do a seamless business service. So you have to keep safety at first and then go across for administrating appropriate technologies for your business requirements. These are my view, and whatever expressed or based on my own
Yes,
experience.
definitely. That's really very great, I must say. So, as you know, we are building a community of industry magnets. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So, what are your thoughts about this initiative taken about by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hebel Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Yeah, I should, personally and professionally, I have to thank the organizers and the thought process of both Mr. Hival Mehta and Mr. Patan, and the World Development Corporation, the entire community. See, every I mean, you need not reinvent the wheel, because there are wealth of information, there are wealth of knowledge which has been accumulated in every professional, and in order to have a growing economy at a low cost and at a faster pace, you should have a community which will integrate all these experienced quality professionals, which will enable them to arrive at a quick solution. And this will help not only the entire organization, but also the society at large, because today your profitability is not only the only motto, as I said earlier. It is living together at a better world. Okay, for that, we should not appropriately base the cost of discover the best policies, best skill sets. These are available. So this is one union which helps the economy and the organization to largely benefit from the experiences, and I'm sure this will go a long way in building a better nation for the benefit of one and all.
Yeah.
And once again, I thank for the initiatives of World Development Corporation. That is one of the most innovative and most required time need of the hour. And I thank you for these initiatives.
These have been really very kind words by you, I must say. So it was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders and help them grow in their careers. Thank you, Ms. Ganthimathi Sridhar, for joining us today. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably has expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much once again for being with us today on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you so much. As I said, I'm more honored, and I thank the DC for arranging this interactive session. I hope this should be of much information and of much help for all the viewers. Thank you once again. Wishing you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.